Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Esther Puertas, promoter of Laboratorio Social COEDPA in the framework of INDESS in Cardiff University. I would like to say thank you and welcome to this space of the Sea of Women webinar entitled Sea of Explorers to celebrate International Women's Day. On our part, from the Laboratorio Social COEDPA, this activity has been organized thanks to the participation of our magnificent speakers and the coordinations, especially of Giuliana Sfredo and Bruna de Ramos. We want to highlight the work done by women in a traditional masculine context, especially work on board, focus on marine science. This event will give visibility internationally to research from different parts of the world. And from the laboratory, we would like to promote the role of women, science, and their contributions to the Agenda 2030. For these reasons, this event encourages the discussion and the relationships with the issues such as gender equality, decent work and economic growth, or underwater life through our social networks. And finally, we inform you that in the following week, we will contact people interested in knowing more about the laboratory to invite them to follow us in an open meeting online. So thank you very much. Enjoy yourself. And Bruna, please, if you want to introduce the speakers, thank you very much.
I think Bruna is with problems, but we will start.
My name is Jessica Giannoumis. I am at the moment at University College Cork in Ireland, and I'm a PhD student in marine innovation. I am also a marine mammal observer, which means I'm certified to work on board. And what I do mostly is make sure that whatever research we do on the boats doesn't harm any marine mammals. So that means that we're often out for days on end, and I get to look out and I get to look for animals and record them and make sure that that no operations harm them.
Please, Atma, do you want to present yourself?
Yeah, gladly. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Atma. I'm from Spain. I studied marine science in the University of Las Palmas in Canary Islands, and I specialize in physics, oceanography. Right now, I'm in Sweden for personal reasons, but I will talk a little bit about my experience as a travel and a sailor in this nice conversation. Thank you.
Please.
Sorry, people, I have problems with my internet connection, but now it's Tatiana time to present, and after this I have some quick information before we start our conversation. So sorry.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Tatiane Combi. I'm a professor at the Oceanography Department at Federal University of Bahia in Salvador, Brazil. So my main experience on board is related to research expeditions. So yeah, maybe we'll talk a little bit later about research expeditions, Antarctica, and these themes that may interest you. And I can give you some insight and share some experiences. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Perfect. Thank you all to present yourselves. And in the name of Laboratorio COEDPA and our team, I would like to welcome everyone. My name is Bruna de Ramos. I'm the host of this webinar, Mar de Mujeres, Sea of Explorers, and about women on board and all things we face in marine science. So we received in subscriptions from 13 countries all the world. So Brazil represented almost 30% of all the people subscribed in the webinar, and Spain represent almost 20%. It is so good, this engagement, and we are very happy to have people all over the world interested in this topic. Some information, like mostly technical information about this webinar. The duration of this webinar will be like 2 hours. We are not expecting to be so long. If you have any question for our speakers, check the Zoom chat. Giuliana will be sending the information how to use and to access Slido, because our questions are being doing through Slido. And with this webinar, we are celebrating the Women's Day, the International Women's Day, a super important political date. So grab your coffee, your tea, maybe some beer if you are in the Spain, for example, because it's almost the night, is evening, and enjoy this moment with us. First of all, our speakers already presented, so I'm going to start with a question that we prepared to know a little bit more. So, what is your most exciting or curious experience on board? Atma, talk a little bit to us.
Well, my most exciting experience, I think it was when I did the Atlantic crossing, sailing last year, almost 1 year ago, almost the same dates. And that was one of the most exciting trips, because I really challenged myself, and it was a really no technology, not completely without technology, but it was very, we sailed in a classic boat, just 2 people, and it was an experience in which I felt like really connected, and with the chance to be as close as to the ocean as I had ever been. Yep.
Super nice. And you, Tatiane?
Well, I think the most exciting ones was for sure crossing the Drake Passage from Antarctica. It's from Antarctica Peninsula to southern Chile. It was safe. The sea was not so bad, but it was shaking for 3 days. So people couldn't eat, couldn't do anything, couldn't watch TV. Everyone was getting nausea. And of course, it was shaking all the time for a long time. So everyone was a little bit worried. It wasn't a bad sea, but still, it's a huge experience. And people always tell stories about that passage. Oh, you know, when I was there, it was shaking so much. Everything was, the glass was breaking. But luckily, when I did that, it was just once. It was okay, but for sure, something to remember.
Jessica?
I love these stories. I think we all have one of these very crazy ones where we just, where we all just get a little bit seasick. One of my most exciting experiences was actually in the Irish Sea, and we weren't too far offshore, but I thought I saw a fin in the water. And it wasn't moving, which is very surprising, because any fin that you see in the water, you want anything moving. You want to see a whale or a fish or whatever. This one wasn't moving a whole lot. And I was getting very concerned. And as we get closer, I was telling myself, oh, please don't be a dead shark. Please don't be a dead shark. And so I looked down, and it's a huge sunfish. And if you've ever seen a sunfish, it's just a huge fin on top, and they don't really move a whole lot. So it's just like flopping around. So the sunfish was fine. That was just one of my most exciting experiences.
Nice, a funny story. So, and in this context, what are the main challenges that you faced on board or to get on board? Like, not only challenges like it was super difficult because I had nausea or something like this, but challenges in general, because you are a woman or because you don't have support from your family partner, I don't know. So what about this? What about the challenge, the difficulties?
For me, it was one of those, as you just noticed, I'm very bubbly, which on board can be very, you know, it's a small, the ships that I worked on are quite small. So you get very close to each other and you get to know each other very well. And somebody like me will then be in a sea of men, to put it this way. I may stand out as very loud and very opinionated and very energetic and very exciting, which can be difficult because that's just part of who I am. So it's being taken seriously while I still am myself. I think that was one of the challenges.
Like in onboard activities, like it's difficult to be, how much time do you spend on board? Like 1 month? Like you not being yourself for how long?
No, I'm always myself. No, I would never encourage anybody not to be themselves. It's just one of those having to navigate around and having to get used to each other. We were on board for a week or maybe a few days, but a week can be very long if you're, you know, 24/7 around people that you normally are not, that you don't know that much. And you, again, you get very physically close. And you spend a lot of time with people that you wouldn't normally spend time with just because your circles are different. And, you know, I typically work in an office, so that can be very challenging and very, it's just a very different environment.
Because the time per se had another dimension in this kind of activity. No?
It's almost similar to being in lockdown. You don't get to go out of it, you know? It's one of these, you're on board, you cannot just take a little dinghy boat and walk out. That's not a possibility, especially when, you know, when there's waves and, you know, at night, if you want to go out, that's not, it's just not possible and not safe either.
Yeah, completely.
You, Atma.
Yeah, I can relate to the lockdown feeling when you are on board, because and actually this is something that happened to me last year when I came back from the Atlantic crossing. It was on March, and that is when in Spain, well, almost everywhere, the lockdown and everything started. So I was like, oh my God, I'm really well prepared for this, because after that, of course, I had to be like 24/7 with the same person, and I think even more than physical, than technical skills, the most important ones are like emotional intelligence, the patience, the empathy, all these kind of things, because you are really put in situations you can be out of your comfort zone, but then there is the out of the comfort zone, and those are kind of extreme situations in which the challenge is big, but I have to say that they are the big moments in which I'm very proud about them, and the moments that really gave me the biggest lessons as well. So it's kind of hard, and it's kind of very nice in the long run, I would say.
How many people are with you in this sea crossing adventure?
How many, you said?
Yeah.
No, in the Atlantic crossing was nothing related with the science, which was like my chance to be like one-to-one with the ocean, but we were two.
You are alone, so you did this kind of thing alone.
Yeah, no, like
amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
A boat with more two people, that you choose these people, or explain a little bit to us.
Yeah, so it is a crazy story. There is a little really handmade documentary. I think, I don't know if you have seen it, but I can send it afterwards, in which I show the trip, but it was with a captain that I never knew, but it was friend of some friends of friends. And it was a very nice opportunity because this was one of my biggest dreams. And he was like on the harbor getting ready, and he needed someone to help. And I was like, I want someone to teach me how to sail in the, you know, in the pure way. So that was like a instant, I mean, I decided to do that 2 days before leaving. So it was a very spontaneous thing, I have to say. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And you, Tatiane, can you share with us your most challenging experience or mental challenge? I don't know.
Sure. I'm thinking about 2 points. The first one, I completely agree with Jessica and Atma, is about the environment and your mental health when you're there, dealing with people being confined in a very small space. Even if it's a big ship, it's small for a lot of people. And one thing that is really important in these situations, I think, is to disconnect from the outside as much as you can, because you don't have internet access usually, or if you do have, it's not all the time, it's not good quality. So if you try to keep in touch with your things in the land, or with your work, or I don't know, personal problems, whatever, you'll just get crazy. I know from my own personal experience, I went on a cruise once when I was in my PhD for 2 weeks. It was not long, but I was so worried about my PhD. Everything was going wrong, and I had some personal issues. And I was all the time thinking, my God, I don't have internet to talk and to send emails and to talk to people and to organize my things. I didn't have internet and I didn't have time, because when you're on board, you're just working all the time. So it was really, really stressful. I couldn't enjoy as much as I could if I was in a better shape. So I think this is a big challenge. And if I can give an advice to people, especially young people who are just beginning to go on expeditions, is leave everything behind, focus on where you are, on what you are doing. Don't try to keep contact or solve problems while you are on board. And another point I would like to say, okay, the first one was very general for men, for women, for everyone. But there's another one, another challenge for women especially, is to get a spot, to get a place in a ship, in a cruise, especially if I'm talking about my own experience as a researcher. So sometimes you have some hard work to do. You have to throw heavy bottles or to get sediments, really hard work sometimes. And sometimes a woman just misses her chance because she's a woman and people already assume they are weak and they don't have what it needs to do this type of work. I saw that many, many times during my career. And this is not very smart because I know women who are stronger physically than men. And we have equipment to help us doing things. You're not supposed to be super strong to be able to do our jobs. So this is a challenge. We miss opportunities just because of this, I would say, prejudice. I understand there are physical difference between men and women, but if we have good equipment, if we have a good team, we can do just anything.
This is so perfect, Tatiane. This is actually our next question. I'm going to ask you if you have something to add about, did you or some woman, some case that you know that some woman suffered any prejudice or violence, even violence? This is a super sad situation in on-board activities. Do you know some story about these? Like a lot?
I know many stories from friends. Unfortunately, it's very normal because it's a man of sea, as Jessica, I think she said it, a sea of men, sorry. So there are many men and few women. So these things happen too often, if you ask what I think about it. Sometimes it's not really violence or clear prejudice, but harassment of many types that make us feel incapable of being there, or just afraid of being some places because there's someone going after you and telling you things you don't want to listen. And sometimes this person is in a higher position than yours. And this is funny. I thought it was just when they were in higher positions, but then after I became a professor, I realized it's not just about the position. It's also about I'll say men in general, don't be offended. They have a hard time understanding women authority. So even if you are in theory in a higher, I don't want to say a position, but if you are the boss, it's hard for them sometimes to understand and respect that. So it doesn't really depend on your position. It's hard to get the respect, and the harassment is a reality, I think, for every woman who has ever been on board.
Yeah, completely. And there are very strong cases, worse and better, but I think in a very subtle way. It's also true because I remember when I wanted to learn like the skills, like the sailing, like the physical part of all this world, it's true that I had to make like a huge effort to do everything, because if you are the only girl, women on a boat, and if there are more men, I think it's just a subconscious thing, but if there is something to do, it's very easy to be told like, don't worry, Atma, I will do it. You know, sometimes it's nice and I can say the same back, but then I realize like it's all the time like that. Like I have to be very aware to no, I can do it and I want to do it. Like, I want to learn, so please let me learn, because sometimes even trying to be nice, you know, these patterns repeat a lot, and I think we have to we are very strong, and we have to be very strong to get what we want, but it is completely possible. And that's why right now I'm very interested in women that sail and exchanging knowledge. And in Spain, in Barcelona, we have a super nice community of female sailors, and we're trying to push it a little bit for anyone who wants to learn to have a nice environment, you know.
And I think it kind of feeds back into, you have your knowledge, you have the skills, but then there could be somebody, you know, that doesn't have your knowledge and your experience, and still just because he's a man, he's still preferred. And you kind of go, but I know what I'm doing. I am, you know, I think even women go one step further. We go and, you know, we do the certificates and we do like all of these different things that are supposed to be on paper, showing that we have the technical ability in addition to all our experiences that we have anyways. And yet we're still always one step behind, and it's difficult. It's hard because you're constantly pushing, both physically but then also mentally. You're constantly pushing yourself and saying, okay, how can I do this? And it comes back to the emotional intelligence that you mentioned just there. You know, being able to communicate effectively, being able to stay calm, stay collected. And again, those are skills that everybody needs on sea. Sometimes everything falls apart and everybody is like, I don't know what's going on. And then we all need to be calm and collected. But then again, I think it's one step, or it's more difficult for women. I do believe that, yeah.
And I think it's not only in on-board activities or in this kind of environment of marine science, it's in our entire life, you know, like beginning in the school and going to the university, it's everywhere. And this question about prejudice and violence, it was a question super asked to us in our form to subscribe the event. It's one of the most famous question that people want to know about. It's a super common issue, but it's not common to be in a violent or in this kind of environment. So it's sad. This is a super common questions. Like, I would like to know about your experience, about your courage, but it's not only this. We can we can't keep only the good part. We need to talk about these sad things happening in women life in general. And about this, in your
Can
opinion,
I just say one thing about this sad part, just because I remember this, and this is
of course
an awful example, but actually it's important to be said. We sent, me and my friend, we sent 2 students of ours to an expedition 2019. 2 girls, they went, a master's student and the other one was undergrad student. And besides all this information about sampling and on-board activities they would have to perform, we were very sad that we had to sit down with them and say, listen, girls, don't take shorts, don't take open shirts, take everything really that covers you up. Nothing to attach to your skin, something looser pants and whatever. And this is really sad because as a feminist, I was ashamed to say that. And as a professor, I was ashamed as well because I should be just telling them about their job. But we had to tell them about those things because it's a reality. So it's just stupid. It's 2020 and we still have to say those things. I just think it was an important example to say.
Yeah, of course, it's important to say this because we need to focus in our job, in our technical knowledge, but also about our personal safe, you know, it's terrible, it's terrible. And in this context, in your opinion, our speakers, the situation of women on board has improved in recent years. What do you think? And what can still be done in this to get better the situation?
Well, so I think it is going better. I think year after year, more women are, as I said before, like some of us that get to know each other, we gather and we really want to do things. So it's you can feel that. Of course, we are not a lot yet, but I think a very important thing is to have someone as a reference. You know, you want to sail around or you want to be a scientist, you need to have this you need to have like someone that is very known to look forward to, because most of them are men, of course. So I think there is still a really long way to go, really long way. But the fact that we are here, it shows everything. We are like, yes, in all over the world, and we share this kind of thought. So I don't think it's an isolated thing, women trying to help among us. And yeah, there is a long way to go, and it will get better. And yeah, as long as we are here fighting, it will get better. That's for sure. I will try my best, at least.
That's very important. Sorry, I just remember others. I was listening to a talk last year. I don't know who said that, so I cannot give the credits. I'm sorry, but I remember a Brazilian group did a survey, a questionnaire about women on board, and they noticed that when there's a woman who is the chief of the expedition, there is more chance that she will bring other women to the boat, to the ship. So this is very important to take these spaces, and just being there is already something, because we bring out other women and we give the example and all of these things. But it was very interesting that they could see with the data that when a woman is the chief, there's more chance to have other women on board.
And I think it's important to remember that even though the ocean is so big, our field is actually quite small. I think all the marine sciences, there's a lot of people working in them, but at some stage you almost know everybody, especially on a local level or on a regional level. So there it's especially important to say, okay, I'm going to be on board. Who's going to be with me? How many women can I get behind me? And like, we go not hand in hand, but we all go together. And then eventually you just build that network. So it is increasing. And I think women are, we are able to live our adventures. And, you know, these kind of webinars are so important to really realize these adventures and see that we're not alone.
Perfect. It's so important to not feel alone, especially in this COVID pandemic, terrible situation that we are in lockdown in our home. So it's super important to feel with other people that think in the same way. And personally, I think if men join us with this cause of gender equality, the world gets super better and we have a super nice future, because feminism and gender equality is not about only women, it's about population in general, it's about humanity. But let's think about it in the other webinars about especially gender equality and something else. So, and do you think this super great movement that that's been done to in UN, United Nations, the Ocean Decade and the Sustainable Development Goals can help to women's equality or contribute to women's visibility on marine science or on board activities or in general? What do you think?
I think there are the goals because those are our aims. Our aim is to increase that and promote the Sustainable Development Goals. And the goal is to achieve all of that within 2030. We all work every day very hard to make this possible on so many different ends. So I think having the goals on a local, regional, and international and national level it's the first step, but there's still much more to do. And I think that the goals are overarching and some of them are quite broad, which of course you then kind of go, well, I can't do all of that. You're not supposed to do all of that. You're supposed to pick the goals and figure out how you can contribute to them so that you can then find and define issues that you can solve without, without feeling like you're completely lost.
Yeah, completely. And in the same way, we're saying like we need human references or women to look for and become or be able to do this kind of paths. I think with objectives and global objectives, it's the same. We need something to so that everyone can see it, and that's the great thing, that it's not just a local activity or it's a big thing. So there is something to look for, but of course, as Jessica said, of course it's like it's not that easy or that fast or anything, but it's a huge step and it's the start. I mean, it's the minimum we can do. Just be aware of some of them and be a part of at least, as much as you can, without getting crazy either, because of course we have a limited amount of energy and everything, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I completely agree with them. I think when you have this goal that everyone is aiming to attend, like projects, universities, institutions, everyone is looking at those goals and they're trying to attend them. And one of them is about gender equality. So everyone is looking at that. Maybe, of course, not everyone will be able to do that, but at least there is a guidance, there is a light. And just thinking about what we were talking about, so on board experiences, if there's an institution, a project organizing an expedition, and they have those goals in mind, they will remember that they will have to have women on board as well. And I think it's just a little light that's there all the time to make us remember of the important things. So I think this is helpful.
Perfect. I think the same. And going back a little bit what I said about role of men, we have a question from Julia Machado. She asked, how do you see the role of men in the fulfillment of this behavioral change towards gender equality? because I gave my opinion, so I'm going to ask you about your opinion.
Well, I think men listen to men. So if there's a man speaking about feminism, there are more chances that other men will listen to them. So I think this is the first step for a man who wants to help in that, in everything about women's rights or equality, is talking about it to their peers, to their friends, whenever they have the chance, until it becomes natural, until everyone is listening, has listened so much about it that it's normal already. Yeah, I think that's how I see it.
I think sharing our experiences becomes so important, because obviously I can only relate to my own feelings and experiences because that's what I've been through. I think for many men it's the same. They can relate to what they've experienced, and so whatever we may then say, oh, this is an issue, they may not be able to empathize with this. So webinars like that, where we share what we've experienced, where we share what we've gone through, they're so important just to shine a light on what it's like. Because again, I don't know what the next person feels. I can only share what I know.
Yeah, and that's the most valuable thing, that we are just talking about real situations and real experience. And I agree with both of you. And it's also very important that we are talking for ourselves, because these stories or these opinions could also be said from anyone else. And I think it's very important that, as Bruna said, like very good, like feminism is a human rights movement. It's not about women or against men or anything of that. So we are all involved in this, and of course men can help in huge amounts, but also it's important that we are the speakers, because we have to be, and like in every movement, the ones affected are the ones with more information in the end, because we have experienced it, have to be the ones with the microphone to say it. But then we all have something to do in this. We all have something to do. Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing to think about humanity as a whole, not as a part, like dividing groups, because it's not reality. So let's change a little bit to more technical part now, about questions as well, super asked to us in our forums by our audience. What training is required to act or to work on board? Do you have any tips for women who want to work in this environment, like in scientific world like Jessica and Tatiane, or in adventurous world like Atma?
Like, you mean like a specific requirements, right?
Yeah, like what
titles,
training, what technicals, knowledge do you need to have to work or to live this experience?
Yeah, so me, I have been both in, I spoke a little bit about my own solo adventure, but I have also been in expeditions. And of course, there you need like some requirements which are completely doable for anyone. And I have to say that my first expedition, and this is also important about what we are talking, our first expedition was, we were offered while we were studying the degree, the fourth year, I think, and anyone had the chance, but we had to be like the best, showing some skills and also like the marks and everything. And there were just three places, three opportunities, and I have to say that the three of us were women. And it was a very beautiful experience because all the crew was male and everything, but that was like more a professional thing. And in a more freestyle way, I have to say, and this is like, yeah, I think this is something that has impact some people. That me, when I did the Atlantic crossing, for instance, I had no real professional sailing experience at all. So I just knew that I could learn, that the winds were in my favor, and that was it. But I learned by doing, and that was something, that was the challenge I was looking for. And I was afraid in the beginning, and I was even thinking and telling my friends, like, no, I better do it when I know how to sail. And then there was a very good friend of mine. She sails, of course, and she told me, like, you know, Atma, you never know when you are going to have the chance again. You should do it. And I was then like, I could do it. And then I proved myself it was possible, and without noticing, you know, it was something I did for me. But now I know, and I see that many people have been inspired by that. So, you know, skills are important, but I would point out here, like, to sum up, the attitude is way stronger, I think. Yeah.
I think that what's important is that there are so many different options on going, like how you can go offshore, and depending on how you want to go offshore, that's how you then determine what skills you need. In general, there's like Atma said, you need not the personality, but you need that attitude of, I can do this and I want to do this, and this is going to be so scary, I'm going to get seasick. Just know that those two things are a given. You are going to get seasick. But one of the skills that I had to do was a risk assessment or a risk test, where you have to do the physical jumping into the water. What happens if you go overboard? What are all of these safety mechanisms? Who is in charge in case there is an emergency and we all have to evacuate the boat? How do you survive in one of those boats that, with, what are they called? The safety boats. And how do you just handle that? And I even got seasick in that, and that was a pool. I got seasick in the pool. It happens to everybody. So there is, there's the physical abilities, and then the skills. It really depends. If you are on a research boat, if you are a marine geographer, those skills are very different than somebody like a marine mammal observer. I can make out stuff. Like, you just notice what the ocean looks like. You know what animals look like. You learn to do that, but you do it by doing it. Like, there is no looking at a book. It won't help, because the ocean is always different. There may be a glare, there may be waves, there may be people around you, and all of that. So it depends. And then the last thing I'm going to say, there's also the Navy. There is an opportunity for women to join the Navy and be part of that, and find a way like this. That also works.
Yeah, well, I had both experiences, going on a cruise without a training and with a training. When I was in my PhD, I did 2 cruises along the Adriatic Sea, on the Italian coast. So it was organized by researchers. It was just about research. So they didn't ask for any training. We just go there and learn and do whatever we have to do. But then when I went to Antarctica, it was with the Brazilian Navy. So they request a training before we go. It's called pre-Antarctic training. We learned basically what Jessica just said. You have to learn, if you fall in the water, what do you have to do, how to turn a boat, how to use those Antarctic huge clothes, basically that. But of course, I think these trainings just give you an idea of how it is. The reality sometimes is very different, because we have the training in Rio de Janeiro, which is a really hot place in Brazil. It's tropical weather. And if something happens in Antarctica, it's completely different. But at least you have, this brief idea of how to behave and try to survive.
Tatiane, about Antarctica experience, what is like to work in Antarctica? Can you tell us a little bit about this experience?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's amazing. I'm an oceanographer, so since I was in university, it was always my dream to go to Antarctica, and I only had the chance last year. So it was like a dream coming true. So I was all the time like when you're in love and everything is beautiful and super nice, and I was enjoying very much. But of course, it's hard. It's especially for someone who lives in a tropical country like me. It was not winter, it was summer in Antarctica, but still, of course, very, very cold. And we had some activities on the boat. So we had to go down from the ship into a boat and go sampling like for an entire morning or an entire day. And then you're in the boat, and then the water starts to reach your body, and then it's really, really, really cold. You cannot feel your hands, and you still have to do your job. So all the time I was like, my God, I'm gonna lose my hands. Let me put inside my body and try to feel it again. But yeah, it's overall, it's so amazing to be there in that environment and do your research in there that everything else seems very little. But you have to be prepared. You know, you have to have in mind it's not just beautiful, it's not just a dream. The daily activities are very hard. You may work in the morning or in the middle of the night, depending on your shift. So you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared to maybe sometimes work 36 hours in a row because you have to go sampling and then you have to process your samples. It's not just about sampling when you're going for a research expedition. We bring the samples back unless you work with physics and satellites on those things. But for me, working with marine pollution, I had to go down on the boat, sample for 6 or 8 hours, go back to the ship and process the samples for another 8 hours in a row. So yeah, you get very, very tired, very, very cold. It's challenging and you don't have access, you don't talk to your family or anyone, just those people you don't know. So yeah, it's not, I wouldn't say it's easy. You have to prepare yourself, but it definitely, it's a very nice experience.
Oh, it's amazing. It's super good to listen this because you seems like you are happy with your experience, even though there is a lot of troubles or difficulties, even challenges, but you are happy doing this. You are happy in the cold or working a lot. This is so beautiful. I have a question from our forms in the subscription process, and is how can we increase the role of women in marine conservation and sustainable use of the ocean? How women can collaborate with this?
I was going to say like the same as anyone, right? Like doing it. If you're interested like in a scientific field, you study that. But how can we increase it by doing it? I mean, it's true that we could say we are in disadvantage, but we cannot just complain, you know. We have to go for it. And I would say nowadays we are pretty lucky, you know, of living these times, because we have a lot to go, but we have gained a lot. And if you, for instance, now I know you too as well, Bruna, I knew before, but you know, these are persons, people I can get to ask anything, and you are a contact. So I would say go for it, and of course move a lot, meet a lot of people, and if you need women references, you will find them, because we are out there, you know. Maybe we are not the most famous or visible, but we are there. Yeah.
I think to add to that, you just need to ask your friends, like all my female friends. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this. You should come with me. And then if you ask them nicely, nobody can say no. So you kind of go like, all right, I'm gonna go, and we're gonna spend 3 hours at the beach. Also, here's a bag. clean it. Like, it just, you know, it's that simple really. But I know it's, you know, I think that we sometimes overcomplicate the thinking of it. It's really about asking people to do something that they should be doing anyways.
Oops, here. Okay, this is specific for women. We had to be prepared if we want to do something. So we had to study as much as we can to get as prepared as possible to go for courses and all the experiences we can have so we can really have a voice. And in that sense, I think having this type of webinars or meetings or anything talking about these issues is really important, because then every woman listening to us today, they see it's possible and they see a path for them. Because sometimes since we are little girls, we learn that we are not that capable, maybe this is not our place. And then talking about it makes everyone see that this is our place, we can do that. So I think this type of discussion, I know it's 2020, I know everyone is talking about that. Sometimes it feels that's not necessary anymore, but it is. So the more we talk about it, the more we reach more people and they see they can take their space.
Perfect.
Just want to add to that, just one little thing. I also, what I do, and it may seem a little bit over the top, but I do talk to a lot of children. And when I do, I tell them about, you know, oh, look how exciting this is. Look at all the animals I saw. Look at this and that. Look at this boat. Wouldn't you like to be on that? And I know you may think that this is a bit early, but it's never too early to get kids excited about the ocean and learn that this is a possibility that they can do too. It's very important. Sorry, I interrupted you, Bruna.
No, it was amazing. I really think that talk to people, children, women, men, all people you can, it's the best thing you can do. So of course, talk to people, it's an amazing strategy to bring to our bright side. So let's change the word in this way. I think it's better than with violence or something like this. So we are talking about onboard experiences or these super crazy adventures, but we live on land. So we need to do something about this. And how do you think changing the gender norms, politics in coastal communities or coastal cities can contribute to ocean protection, ocean conservation, and to have a better ocean in the 10, 20 next years?
So I think it's very related. Everything, you know, like what we are talking about, it's very related. So we have talked about feminism, we cannot not talk about it. So as we are talking about human rights, inclusion, so many things, that goes so tight with taking care of the planet, of the ocean, which is like the same. So I think talking and all these things we are saying, they will have an impact in environment, even if we talk about respect and so many things, because if you can emphasize, if you can feel empathy with human beings, maybe it's easier to feel empathy with animals, with plants, with any being, any live being. So I think it goes tied in a coastal side, in a forest place. It's all the same. We need to learn to take care of not just the others and the planet, but ourselves as well. You know, I think it's all related, and I think there is, you know, you can like kind of sense there is like a big revolution of the awareness of all this, right? Yeah, maybe going too big, but I think it is all connected. Yeah,
I would agree. When I did my master's studies, I looked at noise pollution from ships, and I was looking at the impact that would have on marine animals. And one of my supervisor, he asked me, well, how does that matter to anybody living in, you know, in Central Europe? what is the role, like how do you connect that? How can you create the importance? And that's really what it is. Anything that happens in the ocean impacts everybody on land. Either it may be, you know, air pollution, it may be the food that you get, it may be your transport, export, all of these things. So it's about creating that value and making, well, not creating the value, that's there, but informing about the value and having this platform of sharing the information and sharing it in a way that everybody can relate to. So even your grandmother who may have never seen the ocean should be able to understand what we're talking about. Because if I talk about, you know, if I talk about health issues, if I talk about air pollution and not being able to breathe easily, then they do understand that because it brings it home. So wherever you are in the world, if you think the ocean doesn't impact you, think again, it does. And so we need to talk about that, how we can make that connection for everybody.
Yeah, the girls were giving more wide examples from Europe and all over the world. And I was thinking about something very local that relates to a recent experience I had. So I was on this field campaign in coastal communities in the south of Bahia. So we had to get in contact, close contact to all these communities for some activities. And I realized that in most communities, the leader was a woman in many of them. And it's nice because we watched some discussions and some meetings they were having, and it's an entirely different opinion and vision of the world and everything. I'm not saying make all the leaders be women. No, I'm saying let's make half-half, because our life is different, our view of the world is different. So when I saw those meetings, for example, they were building a community center. And the women were saying, look, in this center, yeah, we have to have a place for kids to stay. And I was like, no, that's nice. A man would not really think about that. So having women as leaders to bring additional things to the discussion, I think it's important to be more plural, to respect many views of the world.
So we have almost more 3 questions, and after this, we have some participation of our audience. And next question is about, why did you choose, or did you choose to work or live the experiences on board? Did someone inspire you, men or women?
Well, for me, as I told you, I'm an oceanographer, so I think it was more or less the natural way. Since we get into university, we dream about the day we're going on a cruise, an expedition, or anything like that. So we didn't need much inspiration. We just wanted to do that since the beginning. It's always a nice chance. I think it was more or less a natural way.
I think that for me, I grew up in a landlocked country. I haven't seen, or the first time I saw the ocean knowingly, I was 14 years old, and I just fell in love. And as you do when you fall in love, you go all in, because why else do it, right? And so ever since I was 14, I told myself, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back and I'm going to study this and I'm going to be part of this. And one way or another, this is home. And wherever I see the ocean, this is just home. So the inspiration was the ocean itself.
Yeah, completely. It's a huge inspiration. Me, I have to say, on a study, on an academic level, I think for me, marine science, as it is in Spain, it was so interesting because it would involve as many aspects about nature and the planet as possible, and as I said before, like it's so nice to study everything as a system, and then I would go for many other things, but that was the first attraction. But in the other hand, like the ocean has always been, I lived by the ocean in all the places I have lived, and I agree so much with Jessica. It's a huge inspiration, or a huge. My best memories are somehow related with ocean, no matter what kind of memories, and I think that is something not that easy to explain, but something that many of us can feel, and it's a strong feeling. So somehow you are gonna be tied to the ocean in some way.
Yeah, completely. It's not a choice. You go. It feels like it's part of your life. You don't really think about it.
So amazing. And the last question I have is, would you say those experiences change your life? Is there anything you want to share about this?
Oh, absolutely. It changes your life because you get to go all in. Your whole life just becomes, I think, so Tatiane, she mentioned it at the very beginning, when you get on a boat, you kind of disconnect from everything. You have no internet access. There is one TV for everybody. Maybe you have one in your room. So, okay, then that's all your entertainment unless you brought books. And so somehow, you just learn to be okay with yourself, and you kind of learn, to navigate things and to take it as it comes, and you learn to appreciate the weather, and, it's never a dull moment. It absolutely changes your life. And every trip is different. Like, even if you do the same trip every year at the same time, it is never the same.
Not that only every trip is different, every day in the trip is different. I remember the first time I went on a cruise, I saw people that had much more experience than me, and they were waking up earlier to see the sun rising, and they were waiting for the sunset, because every day it's amazing. And even if you're used to that, you will be there every day just to watch it, because it's the most amazing thing you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah, definitely. It would be so strange if I say no, it didn't change my life. Of course it did, in a huge level. Yeah, my last experience was like the most extreme, and I have to say that, of course, like you are in the present. I think that's the lack of all the distractions. It keeps you one-to-one with yourself mainly, and that is like a like an intensive course of personal growth. You cannot compare it with anything else. And for me, it was a life-changing thing. Yeah, when I arrived to land after 20 days, it was like, wow, I felt so empowered. And it is a feeling I try to remind myself many times, because and I encourage you to do as well. Like, when you are in a bad moment or anything, you just can go and think about those things or situations you have been, and it's like, well, I'm able to overcome this 1,000 times because I was able to do such a big thing, and I want to go farther. It's a process, but of course it is. I would say it has empowered me more.
I also think every single trip changes your life. Even though like every day is different and every trip is different, every single trip you bring something else back, and it's memories and it's experiences, and it's always growth. You never stay the same. I think it becomes very apparent when you have the opportunity to go offshore, and then coming back, it's amazing. It just is.
Oh, amazing. Now we have some time to, if someone of the audience want to speak something, give your point of view, feel free to open your mic and talk something to our speakers, to our audience, to share something nice with us. And if someone wants to talk, feel free to open the microphone and talk a little bit to us.
I know some people there. Juanma.
Hello. Yes,
Angie.
hello.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can I ask now or not?
Yes, please.
Sorry. Before George was talking about how can improve the environment about and how protecting animals. My question is, boats and submarines normally using electronic equipment that using similar sound than animals. For example, whales, dolphins, using sounds for communicating each other. The sound that are coming from the boat confusing the animals, and sometimes it is affecting mental health in animals. So how can I improve, or what can I do about this? I don't know if understanding the question.
Yes, if I understand you correctly, like how can we improve the well-being of animals by using technologies that don't harm the animals? Yes, and yes. I think it comes back, you mentioned submarines, but it's also regular boats and ships. That's why people like me have a job sometimes, and that's marine mammal observers. And there is also the passive acoustic monitoring, which means we have both the visible. So if I see any animal splashes or whatnot, then you're not allowed, or you shouldn't create any sound during the time that they're there. And we allow for certain processes where the animal can escape. So you cannot just start your, let's say you cannot just start your engine just because we're there, and the animal is also there. So there is processes in place. The same thing with passive acoustic monitoring. Now, what I would say is that we don't have enough research just yet. So my university is actually doing some projects that look at that and that are trying to find ways of creating safeguarding for the animals, but also making sure that the ships can do what they want to do safely. So we're working on it. We're working very hard on it. But it is, you are so right, it is difficult, and it's hard to figure out what the long-term effects are. And then sometimes, you know, I always equate it to some of the noises are kind of like background noise. They're kind of like when you have your refrigerator on and you have that humming sound. Sometimes the sound is like that in the ocean, but sometimes it's if somebody is like hammering against your wall with a hammer, and that sound is much louder and has a much bigger impact on you, and the same underwater. And because of the physics of the water, these sounds get refracted, so they get louder again the deeper you go, and then they go up again. So it's research, really. That's what my opinion would be. We need more research, and we need government and other stakeholders to invest into this, and to understand that this is an important research that we have to do and have to carry out.
I think it's a perfect question to you, Jessica, because you work with this. So I hope Jessica could respond your question. There is someone that wants to share something with us, or we can go to our final part. No? Okay, I see Heloísa Schürmann. Okay.
Okay, from Brazil. My name is Heloísa Schürmann, and I have been a sailor for 47 years. And I am from the time in a country like Brazil, everybody knows, very machismo, you know, no ladies when sailing. And I became the first lady to be sailing in this group of lightning boats, which were racing boats. And I learned from the first day when I saw all these men and they look at me and say, what are you doing here? You have no right to be here. And my husband and I have been learning how to sail. And he said, yes, she's very good at sailing. And I made myself indispensable. I learned how to fly the spinnaker, which is a sail that goes around the buoy, and we won very many races, and that made me an expert in that area. And from then on, I'm talking about 1974, and then from then on, I made myself learn curiosity, learn everything from the aspects of sailing, everything you could imagine. And also, as time passes, I'm not going to go because it's a long story, but time passes. I've been around the world 3 times and I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm 74 and I'm still learning. And the curiosity and learning how to incorporate the sailing, the adventures and explorations in my daily life. I am always making myself part of the crew. I don't care. There are 7 men and I am the only woman, but I made myself indispensable because I had to learn all the technology. I didn't even know how to take a picture with the, a camera and all this satellite communication. Man, you have no idea how I learned navigation, everything about being in a sailing boat in an expedition, because I say that women that really make themselves learn and be there present to do what they have to do. You have, maybe I'm very lucky, but you have no way to say, oh, she doesn't belong here. Because from the first day that they said, you don't belong here, I said, I belong here. That's what I want to be. And that's what I am. Thank you.
Oh my God, this was so beautiful. And in fact, the Schürmann family, it's one of my inspirations because I was born in Joinville, so super near of Itajaí. I saw the boat sometimes, family Schürmann boat and something like this. So I'm so happy you are here. And of course, you are one of my inspirations. I saw the documentary and everything, the book, and oh my God. So we are so happy you are here and you are one of the pioneers of our journey, especially in Brazil. It's a super difficult country to live, to grow as a woman and to be a scientist or a sailor or everything you want. So thank you for your talk, for sharing this experience. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And girls, learn, be curious, and make yourself indispensable. Nobody's going to take your place. No man.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you very much. I have to tell you as well, because I'm very, very touched, and I didn't know about your story, but now you are one of my heroes as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Because you have been our help so that nowadays we can be here and, talk about us and keep pushing. So thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's amazing. You asked before, if we saw some changes from past to now to the present. Is the best person to tell you about that. She has seen everything and evolved together. Very nice. Thank you.
I'm only crying a little bit, so that's good. You make me so happy. I'm okay.
You have to share us the documentary and everything. I really want to know everything about it and keep in touch. Like really, I'm gonna send you as well whatever I can. Yeah.
It's a super great moment to go to our final part to this webinar. I would like to everyone go to Slido. I think the link is here in the chat, but Giuliana will put this again. And there is a question there. It's a poll. You click in polls, and there is a question. We would like you to answer this question to end this webinar and go to our home. No, because we are home, to stay in our home, like happy to spend the weekend more inspired. So please go to Slido The hashtag you put is Sea of Explorers. And please answer the question there. Everyone in the audience, please.
Thank you so much, Bruna, for organizing this. This is just such a lovely, I just a quick backstory. Today is a 1-year anniversary of me working from home. And this event was just so lovely to have as a, you know, as somewhat of a celebration of all we have been through and have achieved all together. So thank you for this, and thank you for hosting the event.
I'd like to thanks Giuliana and all Lab COEDPA team, because I'm here only presenting this because all team of Laboratorio COEDPA is responsible to this organization, to these questions, to think about it, and to bring Mar de Mujeres, the Sea of Women, to the world, to empower women in general. This webinar Mar de Mujeres, it's our initiative that it's like in our heart in the Laboratorio COEDPA, because it's super important, because the Laboratorio COEDPA, it's like 99.9% compounded by women. So we are super strong, and let's change the world. Let's wait a little bit to have the answers in Slido.
I wanna use this time to say congratulations to Jessica and for this day, and for all the women here. And yeah, Julia Machado also wrote like busy, and we must celebrate being together. So I think it's really important that we are here, everyone in their homes, but you know, that doesn't change like the important thing, and that is something really something to be really proud of. And I am really proud of all you.
Yeah, I also would like to thank for the opportunity and for having me here today. I know it's Friday, everyone is tired already, but it has been revigorating to be here with you. 1 hour and a half almost passed just so fast, because it was a very nice talk, and to listen to your experiences, it was amazing. Thank you so much.
What can I add to that? This is perfect. I really enjoyed this, and I hope I get to meet you all in person one day. Maybe on a ship. Who knows?
Perfect. It will be amazing. A super expedition adventure with all these incredible women. So I'm going to share my screen with a word cloud that we have here with all the contributions we received in Slido. Yes. So here we have some words that like express everything we feel with this moment, with this celebration of Women's International Day. So participation, marine conservation, more opportunities, sharing of experiences, global collaboration. We have here people from a lot of countries: Brazil, Spain, Ireland, Atma is in Sweden. So here we have starting a global collaboration, I think. So I'm so happy with this moment, with these words, with all this warm environment we created here. So I want to thank so much the speakers. We went beyond the onboard and bring us to a really what is to be woman in science or in an adventure way. So thank you so much for your participation, for the audience. Thank you, Heloísa, to be here to participate in our webinar. Thank you, Lab COEDPA team, to make it possible, and follow us in our social media and everything to know about other Mar de Mujeres webinars, and see you in the next events or in the virtual world, because we have this problem that only virtual things are working now. So thank you so much.